Budget and Finance will be meeting at 1 o'clock to finalize some of the budget instruction manual for fiscal year 26. So we'll have that information out, and we could just do some dialogue after our presenter here. So I just wanted to ask Taisha, are you on the line, or anyone who's going to provide the training? Okay, David, Shiajic, it's great to see you on the line. Are you going to be providing the training for us today?
Hi,
Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, so today you guys don't get Taisha. Today you get David Chiwiwi and myself, I'm Amy Hood-Schwint. So we're going to be presenting for Taisha Wood today with Amber Alert in Indian Country. She had another meeting that she was able to get out of. So you will have us today.
All right, appreciate it. We'll get right to your report in a minute. So task force members, any other reports or updates that you'll need? Not hearing any, we'll accept the agenda. 701, adding the report on others is the MMDR second quarter report approved by the Navajo Nation Council. Alrighty, monitor the chat. We do hear somebody typing, so just make sure you're muted. But I think if that's our presenters, we're going to move forward with you now. So David and Amy, you have the floor. Do you need to share your presentation? You should have sharing options.
Yes, I see that right now. Okay, I'll bring that up right now.
Okay, Carletta. Yes, thank you. This meeting is being recorded. And so you can always come back to it as you'll be transitioning to the sexual assault awareness walk. Thank you. Okay, Amy and David, you have the floor. Or you could start the meeting, sorry. That's started.
Okay, all right, sorry about that. I was talking and I was I realized I was still on mute. Can everybody see the screen okay? Is it? Yes?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, perfect. When I look at the screen, it doesn't, I can see it on one of my monitors, but I can't see it on the one straight ahead of me. So yes, today David and I are here to kind of just give an overview on Amber Alert in Indian Country, the Ash and Mike Act of 2018. Just want to introduce myself really quick. My name is Amy Hood-Schwint. I am one of the project coordinators with Amber Alert in Indian Country, and that's through the National Criminal Justice Training Center. I'm a member of the Avapai Apache Nation. I've been with Amber Alert in Indian Country for almost 2 years. I started as an associate and then became a project coordinator this past July. And prior to working for Amber Alert in Indian Country, I was a probation officer in Maricopa County for 20 years and then transitioned over to this after I retired. And if Dave, you want to introduce yourself really quick as well?
Hawa, Inukupuyama, Tenam, David Chiwiwi. And make sure
There you go.
Oh, there we go. My name is David Chiwiwi. I am a tribal member of Isleta Pueblo. I am also a project coordinator, just like Amy, with Amber in Indian Country. And I am retired law enforcement. 32 years, and then an additional 5 years with search and rescue. And also, I am a Team Adam consultant with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And it is good to be with all of you here this morning. I'm actually coming to you live from the Middletown band of Pomo in Northern California. I'm doing a visit of 6 tribes up here with Amber and Indian Country, and getting everybody connected to the program. So, but it's great to see, you know, some familiar names, and I'm glad to connect with everybody. I was just recently there in Gallup for the MMIP Awareness Day, and so it was good to see everyone again.
And like Dave said, thank you so much for inviting us to present today for this meeting. So let me start to go through the PowerPoint. So our training is brought to you guys by DOJ, OJP, and then OJJDP. Those are, and just a quick disclaimer on the program. So anything that David and I say today is basically through our training and kind of through what we've learned. It's not necessarily the, you know, the beliefs of DOJ. We have to kind of put that disclaimer out there just to save us, right, Dave? So our mission of our Amber Alert and Indian Country program, I'm just going to read this verbatim because it's exactly what we do. It's to safely recover missing, endangered, or abducted children through the coordinated efforts of law enforcement, media, transportation, and other partners by using training and technology to enhance response capacities and capabilities and increase public participation. So like Dave and I both said, we both became project coordinators this past July, and the goal of bringing us on full time, along with one of our other associates, Alicia Wildcat, was to reach out to all 574 tribes. So that is our goal, is to reach every single tribe. And Dave's getting a lot of those in this weekend or this week. He's been traveling. He said he was here in Arizona, had a 3-hour layover to just go to Sacramento. So, but yeah, we travel a lot with this program. We're trying to reach out. So just by you guys allowing us to do this, it's been giving us a lot of exposure to get out to different tribes. So with the training today, we're going to review the Ashland Mike and Amber Alert Indian Country Act, update on toolkit. Needed to take that out. We've been revising our PowerPoint a bit, so and tabletop resources, and then also identify the state coordinators and tribal for Amber Alert coordinator partners. So our program was brought about in Indian Country through the signing into law the Ashland Mike Amber Alert and Indian Country Act in April of 2018. And that was nearly 2 years after Ashland Mike was abducted in off Navajo Nation near Shiprock, New Mexico. This happened after her brother, Ian, and herself exited the bus. They were abducted by a stranger. And due to all of the circumstances involving that case, Congress passed this new Act of 2018. And I'll go ahead and let Dave kind of explain what that new act did, which came from the original Amber Alert with program. So I'll let Dave kind of explain how that came about.
What it did was it allowed for the integration of the Amber Alerts for Indian Country with the state Amber Alert system. It allowed for the grant funds or the waiver of grant funds in Indian Country. But one of the things that it did specifically that we're involved in is it provided for those training resources and equipment for federally recognized tribes, and it allowed, actually mandated for Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention program to create this program and to ensure that all 574 federally recognized tribes were contacted, were at least offered the opportunity to connect with this program and to see what is actually out there and available to tribal communities throughout the U.S.
Yes, and a lot of our training, it's not to come in and tell anybody what to do or how to do it. It's just to connect those resources. And if you need the training, like Dave said, any training we do is free to any federally recognized tribe. So that's what our goal is, to just get in, see if they have an Amber Alert policy of their own, or if they choose to follow the state Amber Alert policy. And if they do they know who that state Amber Alert coordinator is? Have they had any contact with them? A lot of the times we've been meeting with the state Amber Alert coordinators, and they've been coming out to do these trainings with us when we do them in person. I was in Oklahoma and we had the state Amber Alert coordinator there, and he basically we went to 4 different tribes, I think, in that time. And he just let them know, call me, let me know what's going on. I'll connect you to who can help. And if you're not quite at the level of having an Amber Alert issued, what we can do, how to get there. And so they were working together. So that's the main thing, is we want, we're hoping that the tribes, the states, every jurisdiction can work together to get that Amber Alert out and kind of coordinate all the efforts. Let me go to the next slide. So like Dave said, our kind of just went over this, what our goal is for this is getting out and meeting all those tribes. And then if needed, we can assist with developing a response plan to missing children. Because sometimes we go and they're like, we think we have one. It might be under this section, but they're not sure, So when we talk to, it's usually the chief of police that we usually have a lot of the meetings with, the chief of police, or who else, Dave? It's usually the chief of police, actually. We go out there and meet with them, and then any chairmans, vice chairmans, councils usually present. A lot of the times they're bringing in different areas like victim advocates, a lot of people that are involved with MMIP. Just will come into the initial meeting is when we do that, and kind of just give this presentation. This is what we mainly do. It's kind of just informal, sit down. Here's what our program is. Here's what it offers. And are you in need of these services, or you're not? And we do get. I've had some saying, hey, we've had a lot of training on this, and we think we're good, and that's it. So we check that off. Hey, we met with them, and then go on to other ones. At times, Dave and I have gone, and there's a chief of police, but there's no officers. Or there's one officer and no chief of police, or the chief of police is a volunteer who comes in and helps out, and the lieutenant helps out, but there's only one police officer. And that was the one in California, Dave, correct? And he took us on a tour. Yeah, he took us on a tour of the whole reservation, and it was a pretty big area. And we're like, okay, it's just you. What happens if you get a call or you need backup? And he's like, well, I can sometimes call Border Patrol, and and we got in his vehicle, and I was like, all right, do you call dispatch and say, hey, because I know with when I did probation, we'd call in 10-8 from this location, and that he didn't have that. He had a cell phone, and that's how they got a hold of him. So just kind of traveling around, you see what some tribes have and what don't. The resources are different. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences as well.
And I heard somebody mentioned earlier about the tribal community response plan. And when we look at these and we do our initial implementation meetings, I always think that the end goal should be to be able to, develop those tribal community response plans and connect with emergency management and connect with the child abduction response team. You have your CART, your CERT, EMA, all of those things put together in place so that they all work together with your community. But for many tribal communities, it starts with that initial implementation meeting that we do, and then we work from there. And we do our assessment training and those kind of things. But that's how it all gets started.
And I think I'm kind of skipping ahead on the PowerPoint, but as we said, with the implementation plans, we have tribal leadership there, sometimes fire department, education department. We've learned a lot that when children go missing, it's the teachers that have a lot of contact with the kids. They know more about the kids than, sometimes the parents, because they're with them Monday through Friday from 7 to 3. And then the community members, we've learned that that's actually been a really beneficial to have them there, because sometimes the community members don't understand why the Amber Alert why there wasn't an Amber Alert. Why did this girl get an Amber Alert and this one didn't? So they can see, because law enforcement are there and they're present and the Amber Alert coordinators there, they get those answers answered as to why and how what behind the scenes look like. So the community members has definitely been a beneficial. And then, like we said, we also try and get like the state Amber Alert coordinator partners involved as well.
We're really all, when we look at our tribal communities, we're all stakeholders, you know. And so when we talk about, you know, bringing in whatever stakeholders are involved, if a child goes missing, in our communities, we are stakeholders, and that's why we try to involve as many from your community in different roles, different capacities, to be able to be part of our training and to be able to be part of our meetings, because it's all very important. We all have very important roles that we play if a child goes missing.
And this is one of the trainings we do. We have a symposium every year in, this last one is held in Washington, D.C. It's a 2-day symposium. There's usually a speaker at the beginning of the day in each one, and then breakout sessions throughout the day. At this past one, I know Pamela Foster, who is Ash and Mike's mother, she was there and she did a presentation on the second day. And I don't know if a lot of people have had the, you know, honor of meeting Pamela Foster, but, you know, I met her, amazing. I have to hug her every time because she's done a lot for this program. And a lot of this was brought to you guys like through what her efforts and what she did. But with the symposiums, we have the symposiums every year. Usually we give this past symposium, I think we had 12 scholarships, Dave. I think it was 12 scholarships that they gave out for Amber Alert in Indian Country. And those scholarships will pay for the flight there and then the hotel accommodations. So if you guys ever go on and follow like the Amber Advocate on social media, those usually give updates. Or if you are interested in attending of those, we do have scholarships like throughout the year. Sometimes our budget's a little different this year. So, but we do, if you're wanting to attend a training in a different state to see how that state does, you know, something, there's sometimes scholarships available as well for those.
One of the important things about those about the symposium is that it gives you current and updated training on what's out there, you know, because things change, investigative strategies change, technology changes, ways of examining DNA and all these other things that affect Indian country, they're constantly changing. And so that's why it's important to be able to put out those symposiums every year to update everybody and remain current on what's out there.
Yeah, and typically those have a lot of the Amber Alert coordinators there. So you get there, you can meet them. It's a lot of networking, a lot of good information at those symposiums. Next one is our other AIIC resources. So this is our website. So on this website, you could basically find pretty much everything. If a child goes missing, it will show our mission and how our program started. It has a whole lot of history on that. It has all the trainings that we have available. We do in-person training, virtual trainings. We have webinars that are pre-recorded. We have webinars that are live webinars. And I feel like each week we get an update of which ones are coming up and if anybody's interested in enrolling for those. And sometimes, like I said, we can give scholarships for someone to go to a different state to attend those. But you also have the ability to attending those virtually. And like we said, anything we do is always free. We always have to add that in there. And also up here on the partner programs, one of the resources up here too as well is it'll have like a checklist. If, you know, what we kind of look at is when officers are out, like a missing child doesn't come often, you know, it's there, it happens. But remembering how to start the investigation, there's like an investigative link on that one. And I'll let Dave, since he was a police officer, I'll kind of let him kind of go over that a little bit more since he's used those in the past.
Well, it's important that, you know, that there is something out there for not only that first responder, the person that has the initial response to a missing child, that they know what the responsibilities are, that the supervisor who eventually takes over the investigation in the scene, that they know exactly what their responsibilities are, and that investigator that's coming out to assist with the investigation knows what their responsibilities are. However, in Indian country, a lot of times that role may be taken on by one person, because like Amy was saying earlier, some are looking at those challenges, and yeah, you may have another assisting agency or partner agency that comes in and assists. Eventually, you'll have a lot of resources that may come in, but what you do on that initial response is critical, and so that's why these checklists are very important, so that they know what their role is and what the role of others are, so that they can start getting those things in place quickly. And it's important for that for the preparation, but also that response has to be just as efficient as we can possibly have it, so that we have a better chance of safely locating and recovering that child.
Yeah, and I know David mentioned before how he's part of Team Adams, so he is part of that team. If anybody needs assistance, they will call them out. They don't take over the investigation. They just help and assist. And because they're doing searches, more often than, the patrol tribal police officer, or anybody, FBI, he's there, he's done them multiple times, he kind of knows how it looks, and just to offer that assistance. We were in Montana it was like 5 months ago, and they actually had an active missing child at that point. And so Dave was there, he's like, you can call NCMEC, and then they will send out Team Adam if you need that. And Dave can kind of explain how Team Adam works. It's with a 4-hour radius, and you guys get sent out.
So there's somebody that's positioned, or that lives anywhere within 4 hours of any missing child incident. And so what we do is we basically, like Amy said, we respond, and we provide that consultation, the resources, that assistance that police departments need. And it doesn't matter the size of the police department, because one of our biggest clients is LAPD. So if you look at the size of that, and then we also have some that are extremely small and in need of different types of resources. But the National Center can assist in bringing in those resources quickly. And whether it's a critical missing that just happened, or it's a long-term missing that's been missing for a while, the National Center never stops looking. So that's why it's important to call them on the initial onset of a child going missing.
Up there also too, on the top links, there's partner programs, networks, and the tribal connections. And I can't remember if this next one, this next slide. So the map that you see there, when you're in this portal, you can go onto that map and click on that, and it'll show all federally recognized tribes for that state. And in each one, it'll try and have contact information for each person. It'll have who the Amber Alert coordinator is. We try and keep it updated as much as possible, but sometimes, I'll be working with the tribe, and then I'm like reaching back. They're like, call back, let us know. We can't do it right now. Reach back out in a month or so, and I'll reach back out, and then there's a new person in there. So then we're kind of starting all over. So we try and keep them updated as much as possible, but it's definitely a good resource. The other one is the secure portal. So that's for Amber Alert coordinators, clearinghouse managers, and CART program leaders. That one you just have to get approval to go into, which it's fairly easy on that. And under that, you can see what's going on within the United States, how someone's doing something in this state. And if, you might have something that's similar going on at your reservation, like coordinating those, just communicating and letting each know what you're doing, and if they can offer any assistance. Do you want to add anything to that, Dave, on that one?
It's one of the things that is so vital when you look at connecting all of the different tribes is a lot of times you're looking at something, developing something, whether it's your tribal community response plan, whether you're looking at things like jurisdictions or child custody, or a lot of different things that affect Indian country. There's a lot of different resources that are out there. There's a secure portal so that you can contact somebody from that tribe or that agency or organization that deals with those type of things. And so it keeps us from having to reinvent the wheel all the time, because we can connect with those resources. And so that makes it easier.
So some of the trainings that we offer, the main one that we usually do is the third one up here, the Indian Country Child Abduction Tabletop Exercise. It's called a CAPE. exercise. And basically we send our trainers to, all we ask for is a facility to kind of host the training in and people to train. And with that Kate scenario, we've adapted to your community. So the child will go missing at a school that's like on the reservation, and then they find a shoe over here, a couple miles away. And what happens when that goes from being on the reservation and now it's, the sheriff's office jurisdiction? How does that look? How does that move throughout that when they're finding, getting clues here and that? So it's just it's a kind of a self-assessment, like how this would be handled if it happened, scenario. And there's never any right or wrong answers. And like I said, we've had these where all the stakeholders come in. We usually like to try and get 50 people for a class. But I know we've done a lot less. We were in Reno Sparks and we did 2 trainings back to back. One was on a Friday and one was on a Saturday. And the first one was more of like first responders, police officers, that group. And then the second one was more community members, with a couple police officers on that. And I think the second day had 10 people, maybe, Dave? It was on a Saturday. I think, wasn't there a powwow going on? Something was going on. Some parade was going on. So everyone's like, that's probably why there's not a lot of people here. They're at the parade. But that's one of the main ones that we do that we get the most requests for, is that child abduction tabletop exercise. There's also a 2-day regional training that we do. And it just kind of highlights just cold cases. There's just little different ones in there for day 1. And then on day 2, they kind of review some of the stuff, and then they'll do a missing person scenario. So the person goes missing at the casino, and then what happens? They're, seen over here at this store, and then, how that looks. Because we've learned a lot is the jurisdiction issues with finding children up in Indian country, and just, if there are, like we said, lack of resources, any barriers. And then with the child top exercise too, it also shows what your strengths are, like where, what you guys are really good at, and there can be some improvement on that. And then, like I said, there's the e-learning courses that we have online, the webinars. Right now, Dave, all of us are kind of updating that and coming out with new presentations, new webinars, just kind of based on what we've seen, traveling. At times we're traveling, I don't know, a lot, a couple times a month. So, but it's good. It's good seeing that and like visiting all the reservations. You just kind of get an idea of how the big scope of everything is. Anything on this one, Dave?
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to talk about the child abduction tabletop exercise is that there's many tribal communities that have had the exercise. They've had that training already once before, but because of the high turnover rate, a lot of our tribal police departments encounter there's always a need to redo it, because you have new officers, you have new administration, and everybody gets a chance to take a look at themselves and see, where are we in regards to our resources, where are we in regards to our training. And a lot of times you'll have tribal administrations, police administrations, that their priorities and their focus change. And sometimes some of those things that were in place at one point may not be a priority anymore. And that's why it's good to take a look at that again and kind of refresh everybody with what's out there. And that's one of the reasons why that particular one is so important. And then following it up with all of the other training that's there.
Yeah, and it's, when you go on the website too, you can look at the different trainings we have and see and cater it to whatever your needs may be. You may be, set in a certain training, but you may need another training. When we did the training for the Yavapai Apache Nation, that was back in November, what we did is we partnered with the Arizona Attorney General's office, the tribal liaison there. So her and I kind of coordinated the training together. So in the morning session, they did training. And then in the afternoon session, we did the case. So it's kind of nice to have, kind of a different thing through a full day. What we were also able to do was any officers that are attending that would get the post credit. So that's what we've learned a lot too, that what gets people to training is if they're getting credit for it. And also food. Food always brings people to the trainings. So
one of the other things I wanted to add about that is we've had a lot of success in bringing in all of the different partner agencies. And so whether it's, local, state, federal, tribal, also bringing in the Amber Alert coordinators and BIA, anybody else that might be involved in that response, because it's really good to see how it would work with everybody working together to solve the issue and to safely recover that child, or to also see what some of the issues and some of the challenges would be.
Yeah, at the one we did at the Yavapai Apache, we had a lot of surrounding tribes. So it was on the Yavapai Apache Nation. We had Yavapai Prescott there. We had council members from there. We had some people from Hopi. There was someone from BIA, FBI, and then one of the sheriff's officers was there as well. So when we did the CATE exercise, it was kind of nice seeing how everybody would handle it. Some people would handle it differently, and just kind of having that open discussion and saying, oh, you know what, that might work better. That's what it's really all about, is just kind of getting that out there, going over that scenario and how it would look if it did happen. So kind of the next steps, after the implementation meetings, we always let everyone know that they can contact Dave, myself, Taisha, to reach out to us if you are interested in doing one of the trainings. Just look through, see what trainings you are wanting to do. We can send you, once you contact us, we'll send you a link, which is called a TTA 360 link, and that goes directly to DOJ to request the training. And it takes about 15 minutes to go through. I know when I helped with our tribe, I kind of helped the tribal liaison because she's the one who set it all up, and we kind of reviewed it together. Because I know I've said, okay, do the TTA 360 link, but I've never done it myself because we do the training. So I kind of reviewed that with her to see what it looked like, just so I could explain it to everyone else. And it'll ask for like a tentative date, and you could say in November. It doesn't have to be a specific date. And then once that goes through, then we'll get notification, and then someone from our administration will contact you for more information. So that's kind of how that works. Anything on this, Dave, you want to go over in addition?
It's really pretty much an easy process, and I think that like I said, going up through the ladder of the training and what's available there it's pretty painless. There's really nothing really difficult about it. And one thing that I'm really proud of is that we've been able to tailor a lot of these trainings and a lot of these meetings to what the need is of the specific tribe. So yeah, it's pretty.
So that's it. Anybody have any questions or comments? I think I saw something pop up in the chat. I was trying to look at this and then also look at the presentation, so I wasn't able to really read through the chat as much as I'd like to. Let's see, show chat.
Right, appreciate it, Amy and David. Yes, a lot of, I'll help facilitate the chat questions for those who are on the line, and we appreciate your presentation. We know that this is just a first step. What we want to envision for the MMDR task force, if we could coordinate, we meet twice a month, and what we would like to do, because this is a public meeting, we would want to schedule and work with you on how we could schedule, in your calendar, what Thursdays you would be available to come back, and what, help us. I know that you were saying, we need to make the request from DOJ, but we can do that. And Yolanda has been our point of contact from the office of the president and vice president. So thank you, Yolanda. What we would want to do is provide all of the training that is offered to make that request on behalf of Navajo Nation, and schedule those trainings for our upcoming Thursday meetings. And we could give you all of those dates and times. Like I'll just have staff right now start working on that. But it basically is the second and fourth Thursday that we meet at this time, 8:30 to 10, and it's hybrid. And so I just want to let everybody on the call know that that would be the intent of how we want to move forward with our Thursday calls. But I'm gonna move forward with some of the chat, so just bear with me a little bit. We do have David's information is in the chat. And you see Amy Hood. How do you say your last name? Amy?
Schwint. Yeah,
Uh,
Schwint.
Information is on there. So let's see, I'm gonna go to the first question from Milton Chiage. Milton, did you want to ask your question or did you want me to read it off the chat?
Yeah, thanks, Ma. I can go ahead and ask the question, no problem. Thank you.
You have the floor.
First of all, I think that this would be a really great resource if it's possible to respectfully request a copy of the PowerPoint presentation for members of the MMDR and then also anyone who may request it. And a related question to that is that I'm finalizing a community child safety training and the curriculum behind it. And I wanted to make sure that I included as much resources as I can in my research in developing the curriculum, and wanted to ask our presenters whether there are any specific child safety, like community child safety training programs that you know of that are specifically directed towards tribal communities. And so that's what I'm working on right now. And India, I just want to say thank you for all of the really wonderful information that you provided. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Amy, did you have a response? Or David?
I'll let Dave, I'm trying to find, I know we're doing a Kate at one of the upcoming conferences. So I'm trying to find that. So I'll let Dave answer that while I try and find that. So I can give you guys that information.
The first question being the PowerPoint, yes, we can send out a copy to you all. The second part of it, when you're looking at putting the training and some presentations for these type of things, I would recommend that it would be done some specifically for parents and then some specifically for other agencies or organizations. Now, if you're not doing that already, and that might be something that you're already doing, but when you're looking at something like for parents, for example, when you look at things like internet safety, you look at, there's like different topics like luring and sextortion, take it down program, all of these different things that are there. The National Center has really good prevention information. Not only do they have good prevention information, they have subject matter experts that can come in and talk about, all of the different topics and all of those things. And there's age appropriate training when you look at if there's something for the children, things for the parents, especially in Indian country. When we look at internet safety, first of all, a lot of our communities haven't had internet or broadband or Wi-Fi, or very limited. So you look at, we're already behind the curve. And so when you look at those kind of things have to be something's directed at the children, something's directed at the parents specifically, looking at not only what the threats are, but how to mitigate those threats. And so there's a lot of different ways, and then you can have a lot of information that's specific just purely for law enforcement or Native advocates, right? Or family victim resources. So it all depends on what type specifically of training that you're looking at. And if you want definitely anything specific on that, Milton, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can kind of direct you in the right way for those. But those are just some of the things that I look at just off the top of my head. What I would be putting together if I was putting something like that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much. I'll be reaching out to you. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate the question. And so we'll go on to the next question via the chat. Thank you, Janet, in suggesting Navajo Nation request this training to be implemented before the year's end or before the end of this year. Janet, did you want to provide any more insight or any recommendations for David and Amy in terms of training and what that could look like?
Good morning. This is Janet. I was just suggesting that we have at least like maybe an introduction training because I'm not sure the capacity that the police department already has, and what their training has, what they've already had in the past. And if it's similar to something, then maybe that's something that they don't need, or that they keep maybe a renewal training if that's even possible, to have throughout our beginning stages of providing the training for the police department. But then also I like what Milton was talking about, and you had talked about also, to do the prevention education. I think this has to be hand in hand, training the police, but then also training just the general public about things to look for and prevention efforts. That's all I have.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
thank
know
you.
we have done some training. I wasn't part of it at the time, but I know there's been some training in Navajo Nation in the past, but I think it's been a while. I was trying to find the thing. It was in the early, what, 2022 maybe, Dave-ish, 2020? I'm not sure if Dave was around when that all happened. But I know there's been some, but I don't think there's been anything that's been
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think that there's been a little bit here and there through the past several years, but it is a good idea, like Janet was saying, to go back and take a look, see if it's something that they may need, a renewal, refreshment on that training, because they may or may not be up to speed. A lot of the agencies that are around there may need a refresher or may need some of the training for the first time. So, yeah, the initial one would probably be good.
Yeah, and in a lot of our trainings, we do use Navajo Nation as one of the, we mention you guys a lot because how big the reservation is and how it borders so many different states and how that looks. So we do mention that, like how you guys have a lot of different challenges that a lot of other tribes don't, just due to the area that you guys have, and like police covering that. And then how does that look with like BIA coming in, FBI coming in? So yeah, we do kind of refer to you guys a lot.
Okay, appreciate it. What we'll do on our end of the task force is, Janet, with your expertise on prevention, we'll work and see how training, I'm not even sure if there's coordinated training, other than for like staff between the different programs. So this might be a recommendation to our Dene Action Plan Committee, since they're working with all three branches, to see how we could develop like a training calendar. And of course it has to be scaffolded to meet everybody's needs, but we'll definitely put that as our recommendation and a follow-up with our DAP colleagues on the line. And I know Salatsa is the co-chair, but in this call, she's working in her capacity as a community member, but we'll red flag that. I'm gonna move forward. Shiad, Dr. Andy Nez, did you want to ask your question to the team here today?
Yes, thank you, Shema. Aro yat e ade to everybody on the call and in the room. My name is Andy Nez. I also sit on the 25th Navajo Nation Council alongside Shema Kudoa, Chair Amber Kanasva Krati. I also sit on the Health Education Human Service Committee. And I had a question. So first and foremost, thank you for the presentation and the additional resources you're sharing. So my question was, because the Navajo Nation comprises multiple states, if your trainings are tailored to any existing or even non-existing policies, so that there's kind of a more specific direction to what many tribes are dealing with. So for example, in the state of New Mexico, recently Governor Grisham signed Senate Bill 41, which is the turquoise alert, and that system. So oftentimes what we find out, and I'm a member of both the Arizona and New Mexico caucus because I work with communities that are in both states. And so sometimes advocacy is not the same because there are different laws and policies that are either preventative or are just non-existent. And so I was just curious about that. My second question was regarding, and I'm glad the discussion is happening now because I was kind of very conscientious on how I would want to address the question. But I think it's important to also provide training to our students of all grade levels, and to make them also more alert, more responsive, and to also be very attentive to their surroundings as well. And I think language is also an important aspect of it, because when we talk about language, for us, Diné language, our language, there's different terminologies, and I know that's unfortunately a barrier for many of our youth today, but I think it's very important that it's not used to weaponize and to do harm to students. And this goes beyond the belittling and the teasing, but more so like if there's a plan or a cue or some terminology that would initiate some sort of unfortunate circumstance. And I think those types of cues are important for our students to also recognize. But not only that, we have many other indigenous languages in the United States. So I was just curious on that front as well, in your thought. But yeah, thank you.
David or Amy, if you want to tackle that question, and then we'll go back to Dr. Andy Nez if he has any follow-up or clarification. Thank you.
Can start. Thank you, Dr. Naz, for your questions. All very good questions, actually. Everybody's got really good questions. When we look at the question of whether they are tailored for specific tribal communities, the answer is yes. I'm from Isleta Pueblo. In Isleta, when you look at a tribal community like St. Regis Mohawk in New York, or you look at Puyallup in Washington, or different parts of the country, it really wouldn't work if we used one training scenario with the same information for all the tribes, because like Amy was saying earlier, one of the things that we do mention about Navajo Nation is because geographically, you're looking at the different, not only counties, but you're looking at different states and all those kind of things. So yes, the answer to that is that we try to tailor it as much and as specific to your tribal community as possible. And that goes from not only when we look at a child abduction tabletop, from the scenario to the maps to the photos to everything that we can possibly do to tailor it specifically to your community. You have to look and you have to work within what are your available resources, what's your available training, those kind of things. What is your available media exposure? Because we look at in Indian country, a lot of times we may not have the Indian country exposure that non-native communities might have. We may not have the what I call the Gabby Petito effect, where people are this goes out throughout the country, people know about it, and when you look at things like a lot of people never heard of them until she was found, and trafficking like that should be out there. I mean, there should be media exposure. There should be a lot of different things that are. So yes, it is specific for our tribal community. And no matter where we try to make it as specific as we possibly can. There was the other question was to do with students. There are specific Well, you know what? I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that question because I wrote it down, but it didn't make any sense to me as I wrote it down. You're talking about students in all grade levels.
David, I think your connection is getting really spotty. I'm not sure if you could call in, that would be great, because sometimes when you're on, using the Zoom, just let me know. Let's do another thing. Now I see, oh, it's unfrozen now. Okay, go, David.
And also the question about the students and all grade levels. Can you repeat that question? Because I want to make sure that I have that as well.
All right, Judge,
Is Dr.
Dr.
Ness
Andy
still?
Ness. Yeah, can you repeat or reframe that question just for David so he could answer? Thank you.
Yes, so I mentioned that I was be very conscientious on how I was going to ask this question, but training, I think, as it was mentioned, is good for all populations and including our students. So within training directly to all grade levels, whether you're in kindergarten or first grade, if that type of training has been discussed, and I think an important aspect of that training, and to anyone on the call, I think would also be the language barrier, because oftentimes what we're seeing in indigenous communities is there's a limited number of speakers among our youth, but at the same time we have to recognize that there are language that may be cued that is unfortunate. So an example I'm going to use is, for example, like if you have a group of young students walking and there's like language being used in a way that is weaponizing and not so much protecting, then we want to make sure that our students and our kids are well aware of some of those cues as well. I think it's important in any training. So the more we're able to teach and allow them to recognize some of those, then I think that would be great to learn as well. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
So yeah, that's an excellent question, and that specific training, when you look at training with the students, likely wouldn't be done through Amber and Indian Country, because we're looking at the type of the response for the different stakeholders, the different agencies that would be involved in that response. We do work in coordination and collaboration with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where you would have age-specific, also culturally hopefully appropriate and specific training for different communities. There is a tribal fellowship program in which the tribal fellow makes connections with all different communities and provides that connection and that training for the different communities and for all ages. So yes, so in that regard, students would be involved. As far as the actual Amber and Indian Country training specifically, that would be more for the stakeholders that would be involved in the response for a missing or abducted child. Amy, do you have anything to add?
I do have one thing to add. So our supervisor, program manager, Taisha Wood, is now on the call too, so she can also help answer any questions as well. Taisha, you there? I don't hear her. Taisha, are you?
I don't hear her either on our end.
Yeah. She said.
Okay, well, she chimes in.
She
Back to
said,
that question.
yeah, she said she's on mute, so she can't unmute herself, but she's here, so hopefully. Yeah. I don't. And sorry, I was trying to find that training for you guys, so I was kind of looking at that at the same time. But I don't think I really have much to answer. I know when we worked with the AG's office, I don't know if you guys have had any contact with the tribal liaison there. Her name's Rachel Hood, and she does a lot of trainings too. Heidi Chance did the trainings with the Yavapai Apache Nation, and I know one of them was on social media and kind of things that directed like towards parents and how to prevent that. So I know they had a really good training for that. As far as us having those specific trainings, Dave, I don't think we may or may not have those in ours. But I'm not familiar with any of them right now. But Taisha's saying to unmute her, but I don't know how to do that.
So I don't see her name on here. So she's calling in. We would need to know her last three, but it might be this 920 number. She could simply press *6 if she's calling in, and that's how she should be unmuted. Because on our end, we haven't muted anyone.
Okay, hello? Go
Yep.
get Crowdy, can you hear me?
We could hear you. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for advising on the *6. That's what helped me. Yes, I've been everybody. I'm sorry for the late arrival. I was on another meeting. I just want to add to Dave's response regarding the education and of the school age children. It's a very good question. It's not something that we haven't considered, and I think this is a priority for everyone regarding this topic. I just wanted to convey the responses. Yes, we do have curriculum and programs geared at stakeholders, and I like to use the word champions of the community, whether you're a school teacher, Head Start teacher, or you're a school nurse, or you work at the market around the corner. Everybody should be aware of their response to a missing child, and it's a community response in working and partnering with law enforcement. What we like to share is we'll train those community members as champions, but we really hope, that's our first step. We have all these other communities in the country to connect with. We hope that this just gets the discussion going on your level, and we could definitely work with you to be able to share this information so that it's continued throughout the community, because not everybody's able to attend a training, right? Sometimes nurses have a demanding and doctors have a demanding schedule. CPS workers are on call. We understand that not everybody can be in training all day long. So we really encourage that you share this message with those people that aren't in attendance in our training. But it's also good to just, on that level of education, we have our educators there. Whether you're a superintendent, we could certainly come back and work with you on how to have this dialogue with your teachers. And it's really about just teaching the importance to kids. And a lot of times we understand that when someone goes missing or there is trouble in a home, our youth often tell their friends, this is what's happening. And we really want everybody to know, what is that response when someone tells you they need help, or when someone tells you, I'm talking to this person and they're telling me they want me to come visit them in a neighboring outside city. They want to buy me a bus, and I'm speaking of, those predators. So it's about having these discussions on that level where we can talk about it with all adult stakeholders, but we really encourage that discussion be geared towards speaking with everybody that's not in the meeting. But we can help tailor that language. And then again, I know there's the question of language barriers. With every community, we talk about that. We talk about, your community best. As Dave and Amy mentioned, they're both from other community tribes. Dave is from Isleta and Amy's from Yavapai Apache. We would like to have them broaden that training that we're giving them so that it better suits their needs and whatever culture or language that they have. So we support that education and we can help navigate it. We don't have that set curriculum that we share with everybody. It's kind of like build your own. You build what works best for you, but we can help build it through the templates that we offer. So it's not a lost cause with us. We do encourage it and we'll help you in whatever way we can.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Dr. Inez, did you have a follow-up?
Uh,
Your questions?
Those were some of my just two specific questions, but thank you for the response. And Taisha, I don't know if you remember me, but I also assisted with a project that you had on language about maybe 5 years ago. So I continue to still be here as a resource, so feel free to always reach out if anything. Thank you, Shema. That concludes my response. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I think Taisha and our federal partners here on the line, we're contractors. Our hope at MMDR Task Force, because we're like a collective, is to start that conversation. And with your expertise, like how do we start developing that unique perspective? So like working with Dr. Andy Nez, Janet Deschini has a lot of experience with the prevention work. Like we all bring our own skills. So I think that's something that we could look forward to. You bringing in your experience and knowing all of the different federal and state partners, and ultimately developing a Navajo specific tool, and also expanding that out to like our border towns. So that's kind of our envision as a task force, and how we're going to move forward. So thank you for joining our call. I know everybody has, that's why we try to do hybrid. And I mentioned that our schedule is the second and fourth Thursday of every month we meet. So we'll continue to have this dialogue. So I'm going to go to Shanella. Did you want to ask your question regarding the partner portal?
Sure thing, yeah, Dee. I was had this question when you were presenting it within your PowerPoint. You showed an area where you could check to see who the Amber Alert Indian Country contact is. And I think it's secured for partners only. So that was one question. But the other half of that is what is the status of the Navajo Nation with Amber Alert in Indian Country? And if there is current work being done, who is the contact that you all have on file? And then I see further down that you said that there is another training that is scheduled with the criminal investigation unit at Twin Arrows. So I'm guessing that you guys might have a contact with Twin Arrows. My recommendation is, it appears that there's already work being done with the nation on this endeavor. So my recommendation overall, in addition to my question to you all, is to unite as a task force and as a nation in order to have the best response for our children and to support our community. I think we are all here, and as Shanella mentioned, we're a mishmash of various entities, but we're all here to help. And it would be my recommendation to Amber Alert of Indian Country to also push that agenda in, stressing how important it is to gather those who are doing the work to actually come together, and because we can't do this work alone. It's there's a lot of people out there that need our help, and I can't stress that enough. And we're definitely here to help. So please relay the message, and we hope to be included and invited in part of that work that we're also trying to do as well. So that concludes my question, Shanella. Yeah.
I'll start
appreciate it.
by saying that it is very important that we're all working together, that we are all linking our efforts and our services together. I know that MMDR has been doing some great work for a while. I was initially involved back in the beginning, and assisting in whatever ways that I could. So I know that you're doing a lot of great things for a lot of people, and so we really appreciate your efforts. And yes, we would definitely want to assist in bringing our communities and our resources and everything that we have available together, so that we can work this together.
So I'll add to that. Again, this is Taisha. Yes, for the portal, you would need access. So not again, this is all of that information is contact information, email information for all the coordinators throughout the United States. So if you email us and I think you have Amy and Dave's email address. We will set up that vetting. We basically just have to ensure that you're not going to, you are who you say you are, and then you have access to the portal. So anybody that's interested in that, please email us, and then we'll go through that process with you. We are still building that portal, as we've said, and as you may know, a lot of times roles change with a snap of a finger. One police chief may be in one area and then retire or transfer to another area. So we try to keep the portal up to date with our tribal contacts, but that is it is a task in itself. So if you're interested in being a part of the portal, please contact us. The other instance regarding the training, we have been trying really hard to have solid connections with the Navajo Nation, especially because our work began with after Mike's abduction. We have been working, I want to say, pretty positive with the Navajo Nation Chief of Police, first when it was Francisco, but also with, oh my gosh, he was my favorite chief, and he was from Shiprock too, and I can't remember. It was after Francisco. I'm sorry, sir, if you're listening. But we were able to do some equipment, help them with equipment through a grant. We've offered scholarships for Navajo PD to attend our training, even Division of Criminal Investigations. We do have a training set in a few weeks with Navajo Nation Department of Criminal Investigations, as we mentioned. This is for their own in-service, so I believe it's just open to them. And we are always try to make sure that we have time and people to help whatever agency that requests. We are only a 4-man team, but we're working with all the federal tribes in the United States. So again, we do our best to accommodate and get our trainings out there. We are always happy to come out. I know Dave and I used to attend the meetings. It's been a few months for me, but Delegate Crowdy, we are happy to see if we can commit to attending the meetings, to be that support and answer any questions and help if we need with anything to build that partnership and build that, I want to say, curriculum to be a resource for the community. I think I answered the questions regarding the training and the portal. Did I miss something?
No, but I might have given some misinformation. I know, I apologize for that. So that training that's coming up at Twin Arrows, Taisha, that's only for the criminal investigation staff?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, I apologize, whoever's still on that. I thought that was like an open training that was being held. So I apologize for that.
Yes, they requested us to come out, and that was for an internal in-service hours for Department of Criminal Investigations. So it is an internal training.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. What we'll do on our end, if you have a good working relationship with police chief and like division director of public safety, Yolanda, that's where you could help us. Maybe that would be the best places to coordinate within the office of the president, vice president, and just get an idea working with our federal partners when training is scheduled for Navajo Nation. If it's internal, that's perfectly at the discretion of the program. But again, if we have that menu of trainings, then we could at least start scheduling them on our Thursday call, so everybody has access to that information. That would be great. Appreciate it. Shanola, did you have a follow-up question regarding the portal and training?
No, thank you very much for the clarification. I guess with that information, my recommendation overall to the task force and those who are working in this realm is to maybe get maybe for the next meeting or so, get an update from the Navajo Nation Police Department and Criminal Investigations to see how far along we are in implementing Amber Alert in Indian Country as a nation, and where we can step in as or where we fit in our individual work that we do, and also as a task force in general.
Okay, appreciate that. We added that to our recommendations. I'm gonna go back to the chat. I just want to do a time check. Usually we end at 10, but the way today is scheduled, because we know there could be a lot of questions from the task force. We're gonna be able to continue this dialogue, but if you do have to transition out, the meeting notes will be sent out to everybody who's on the call today. So let's see. Shanola, was the question with AIC, is that different than the portal question?
No, it was all connected. I was pushing my apostrophe and it pushed enter too soon but I got everything answered, so.
Okay, and then Andrea provided her contact information and wants to be part of your information on scholarships and on your update listing. SWIC Memories also requesting to work with your team. Janine Phillips is requesting a copy of your PowerPoint, and a request to sign up from the MMDR Coalition, that's the nonprofit, as well as SWIC. So Milton, let's see, asked a question, some additional requests. Let's see. Gina, it looks like you have a resource that you want to share. Did you have the floor, shut it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, Bene. I was chatting with David, but I did want to let you guys know that NCMEC, NCMEC, National Center for the Missing and Exploited Children, on their website, and I provided a link, they do have training for children on KidSmart, NetSmart. And the reason why I bring that up is yesterday I was at the Arizona Human Trafficking Task Force meeting, just observing, and they did a case study about a young girl who was using, I think it was Insta or TikTok, where she posted videos about her dancing, and some dude from Utah, I'm sorry I say dude, but some guy from Utah saw those videos, and it went to Snapchat, and she disclosed that she's hungry. So he sent her food through that, those places where they send food, and got her address. And then he went all the way from Utah down to Arizona somewhere and showed up at her door and took her. So, and then she got groomed, and then eventually, got sexually abused. So we really have to be, I'm glad that Delegate Nez, I believe, asked a question about what we can do for our children. Well, there's a resource on NCMEC, and I did go through there's one for older teens and there's ones for kids, and it's totally appropriate. I think this is a good resource for people to use. Even for me, I didn't realize that, they can be, you can have these people out on the internet looking for our children. And I know in Toajale, when I worked for the courts, we had that situation. This young girl in our community said, I'm going to Florida. And her family brought her into the court building, and we tried to talk her out of not going, but she went. And we were kind of like trying to monitor her. She came back eventually after a year, but with some guy in Florida. So, these things can happen. You've got to really be careful. I think a lot of training for parents, grandparents like myself, and also for the young people, got to be careful, because that's a big threat out there. So I put a link to those resources. One's called KidSmart, one's called NetSmart, and it's offered by NCMEC. Thank you for that opportunity to tell you about this.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that and that type of training and how we can integrate, uh, especially on the prevention aspect. It is happening here on Navajo Nation. We do have some cases of initial contact through social media and individuals coming onto the Navajo Nation and do take advantage and they're reported missing. And luckily, sometimes we're able to find them. So appreciate that resource, and we'll add it onto our listing and continue. Let's see. So David, appreciate that feedback. You could have opening up that you could attend the training, connect with tribal fellow for native specific training. Okay, so Gina, there is some back and forth, so I appreciate that.
There is any,
Dialogue.
I'm sorry, if there is any specific training as it relates to children, whether it's NetSmart, KidSmarts, instructor-led training, web training, those kind of things, you can always contact me and I can facilitate some of that for your agency or organization, your community group, anything like that, for parents, caregivers, anything where you want something specific regarding NCMEC. Yeah, you can put, feel free to reach out anytime you have my contact information.
Appreciate it. Looks like we were able to go through the chat with all of the requests. We did clarify that tabletop training is specifically for Navajo Nation criminal investigators, but with our continued dialogue, we'll start scheduling out when you could come back to the task force. And I just think at this point, any training that you have, we're interested in receiving, and I think that'll be helpful. And that could also, spark interest in how we could do additional trainings here on Navajo Nation because of its size and understanding that you have 4 individuals that provide it. So we're looking at, we might bring on like our Navajo broadcasting component and maybe do some recorded trainings and then also with your guidance, like how do we develop Navajo specific? So this will definitely be building up a long-term relationship with your team. So I appreciate that all 3 of you were able to provide that information. Let's see. Yeah, share your event on SWIC.
Hi, yes, this is Christy Granger, a part of SWIC. I'm trying to put the flyer in the chat, but we are as SWIC, we are in May 28th and 29th, we are hosting a training, the intersection of DV and missing and murdered Indigenous relatives community network gathering that will be held in the Valley. And so SWIC will be doing this 2-day event. And right now we are hosting it in the East Valley. But I am trying to get the flyer into the chat so that you guys can all attend.
Share your screen?
Share my screen? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's the best way to do it now.
Okay, let me pull that up. But then again, I can send it to a point of contact as well. Usually I can just drag and drop, but the chat is not letting me do that. So let me pull it up. But this is free to attend, and we are having it, like I said, May 28th and 29th, and Memory will also be one of our presenters there, and she'll be talking about one of her case study as well. Let's see. Okay, do I have sharing capability?
You should.
Okay.
And we'll try to figure out with our IT team what's going on with the chat. Okay. It's on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually it's going to be in Tempe. We do have a location and we are really focused. This is using our FIPSA dollars, so it has to be DV centric, but we really know that MMIWR intersects with domestic violence. We will also have some individuals there, the retired detective and Mark Pooley, and individuals who were pertinent in the identification of my sister, as well as other service providers and things. We're going to have a K9 search and rescue out there to do a event or to do a presentation on what they do and what we really want to bring as much as possible. Those stakeholders in Arizona that are doing MMIWR work, we'd like to invite you. If you have a program, we want to give you opportunity to share your information. You know, I think that where we are right now is that there's so many of us that are doing this work, but we're kind of doing it siloed, right? We're doing it in tandem, but not together. I think that needs to change. And so, you know, being here at these types of events, please come support our work. And we would be happy to support any of your work that you're doing. Send us the flyer. We'll be happy to share it among our networks.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So I did see that Zenaba, did you also want to share a flyer?
Yes, I can. I'm about to email it to Tatiana, but I can do a screen share really quickly too.
Sure, and let us know about your event.
Okay, can you all see the flyer?
We can.
Okay. So we are supporting the Ashton Mike Memorial Walk Run on May 2nd. For those that can attend, it will start at 11 and end at noon, Mountain Daylight Savings Time. You do have to register. So you can go to the link in the chat, and I believe this QR code also will take you to that as well. But we are inviting families for the main Shipwreck Marathon on May 3rd. You can register as a team in memory of a relative impacted by MMIP, but also for Ashton's Memorial Run on May 2nd. We're also going to be sharing resources specifically for supporting children and youth that are also victims and survivors of being either missing or exploited. I just wanted to share that. And there's going to be shirts specifically for Ashland's Memorial Run, and then there's also going to be shirts specifically for the Shipwreck Marathon. So those are some incentives to register. Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Shadeja, do you have a flyer for Vanjie Shorty's event for May 5th?
Yes. Let me go ahead and share that too. So May 5th, there's going to be a few events occurring. I will be at the event in Albuquerque, but Vanjie is also putting on an event May 5th. Let me pull up this correct flyer here. It will be in Farmington, I believe, at the same park that it occurred last year. And this year's going to be the 4th annual for her son, Zachariah Jawan Shorty. I'm not sure why it's not letting me share this one, but I'll also forward that to Co-Chair Tatiana. And there's a new flyer, so this is either one is, if you see the one with the gray background or if you see this one, they have the same information. 2 to 6 o'clock in Farmington.
Okay, appreciate that. So we'll make sure that we push out some social, just to know that we are revving up in May. I know that we do a National Day of Awareness is the 5th. Some entities do a week of work, like the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. And I believe some of our tribal communities are doing a month-long. And so that's something that we could work with the Office of the President, Vice President Yolanda, on how we can support and integrate awareness work throughout the month of May. There's a lot of graduations, there's a lot of family activities, and this is always a way to just make sure everyone is safe. I do have a last announcement. There has been some changes with the Navajo Nation.
Shanella, your audio went out. Can you start over? Shanella. We still cannot hear you. Amber.
Poster, so hopefully they'll come out. But we do, as of
Amber.
today, yes.
Amber, we couldn't hear you. You cut out right when you started your announcement. Can you start over?
Oh, okay. Maybe we have a connection. Okay. What was that? Okay. I'm just gonna keep it short. So Sergeant Dash was here. He's now the point of contact again for the Navajo Nation Police Department Missing Murdered Unit. So we have Navajo Nation is probably one of the only tribes that we have allocated money specifically for a tribal, our own tribal MMIP unit. And if you know of another tribe who is using their own resources, please let me know. Because of how the federal government has really impacted our funding and reduced it to the point now where we're prioritizing as a nation. So I don't know how other tribes will be addressing that. So Sergeant Dash did give me the update. They're working a current case. So he was excused, but right now on Navajo Nation today, and we know that this changes. We don't have an updated poster, but we hope to get that out soon. Right now on Navajo, we have a total of 68 missing relatives. Of that 68, we have 50 adult males, 14 adult females, 1 juvenile male, and 3 juvenile females. So that's a total of 68. And also in working with Mark Pooley and his team at the University of Texas on the DNA, and I'll have to verify this, but according to the report, it looks like through DNA efforts, 26 of these cases have been solved. Not of the current missing, but of, I believe, and I'll talk with Mark and get a little bit more information, but I know the task force were asking for updated information, and with all of the different changes, we usually receive our monthly report at the fourth Thursday meeting. So I just wanted to continue that conversation. If you have any recommendations or follow-up questions on what we need as a task force in terms of monthly updates, you could use a chat or we could open it up for discussion. We're also having our Data Institute, our MMDR, again, fully funded by Navajo Nation dollars. Those are our people's dollars to create a Data Institute with all of our different partners. We're receiving those weekly updates, and we anticipate to have an in-person session. But I'm also going to open it up to hybrid because of some of our partners not being able to come or travel directly to Window Rock. And I think that should be somewhere in the late, after graduations, I think is what we kind of look could be. Hold on. Okay, so let me go to the chat real quick. Can we get name Chair Crotty? Oh, Salatza, shut it. Please ask your questions regarding the task force member report.
Okay, sorry, can you hear me? I'm trying to get off mute. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Delegate Crotty, I was just reading the report to the council and noticed that all of our task force members on the report are not listed on on our agendas. So if we could just make sure they match, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll make sure that we review that and look how we need to either amend that. Appreciate it. So Shadeja, can we get a copy of the data of the numbers of MMDR so we can share with our community? That's our request. So once we get that information from PD, because usually how they present it is through a missing persons poster, but we're also asking, okay, and what I didn't mention in the report, we're also asking is how many of these individuals were reported missing on Navajo Nation Of the 68, 53 were reported on Navajo Nation. And from this list, how many were reported off the nation? 15 of those 68. So once we get that data, we'll send it off to the task force. Maybe what we'll do is just kind of have either work with PD, how they're officially going to send that information out, or Yolanda, we could coordinate with OPVP and the task force to push out that information. So we'll once we get that information, we'll definitely push it out to everybody. All right. Any other questions on the data or what the task force would like to see when it comes to how the task force is updated monthly on the data? Okay, so great. I appreciate it. We're moving along. We'll update the task force. I think there's going to be a few individuals who have vacated their positions. And so hopefully through email, we'll send you an update on what positions are now open. And if other community representatives want to be acknowledged, or if any of our partners want to be acknowledged as task force members, we could always amend this resolution. So I'll always look to defer the task force so that you're properly identified with the task force, or you could just be identified as, you know, a partner. I'm just thinking, Gina, how, because you're a federal program, I don't know if you could be on the task force. So just ask your upper management, or if you could just be identified as one of our technical advisors to the task force. Just let me know, because I would like to acknowledge the work that you're bringing to the task force and your help. Abigail? Alrighty, sounds good. Okay, our next meeting will be May 8th, 2025, 8:30 to 10. It will be hybrid. We do meet here at the Budget and Finance Conference Room if you want to come here in person, but it's really just usually me and staff. But if we want to do more in-person stuff, we could start accommodating folks who want to come by. Anything else, Tapi? Okay. So Tapi's under the weather a little bit, so as co-chair, she gave me the thumbs up. So we will adjourn, we'll close the meeting at 10:16. We went over our announcements. Any opposition to adjournment?
No, I just have one quick question. This is Amy with Amber Alert again. Who should I send the handouts to for the PowerPoint presentation?
Tatiana will put her contact information into the chat.
Okay.
So appreciate you also being patient with us. We're going through a transition too.
No, it's good to get all the information. So it's no problem on me. And I know Taisha and Dave both had other meetings, so they had to kind of go out. But okay, I see Tatiana's information. Perfect.
Right. Thank you. So we could
Okay, thank you.
have a great day, everyone. Hagwana.